Hi guys, today I want to talk about really dangerous virus which is transmitted to you by a narcissist. This virus makes you stay wasting months and sometimes years in miserable relationship. My name is Darina and I'm doing my psychology postgrad in Australia. Let's get started. And a virus that narcissist infects you with called learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is a state that develops from constant, uncontrollable stress. When people face continuous stressful situations that they can't control, they stop trying to change things, even when they can. Over time, they learn to feel powerless and give up trying to improve their situation, even when the original stressor is gone. This loss of motivation can persist, preventing them from taking advantage of new opportunities. As a result, they lose their ability to make decisions, be aware, and analyze their circumstances effectively. For example, if you've been in a relationship with a narcissist who constantly told you that you are stupid and worthless, you might start to believe it. Even after leaving the relationship, you might continue to feel helpless and avoid seeking better job opportunities or making positive changes in your life. This happens because you've learned to see yourself as useless, and the feeling of powerlessness lingers, preventing you from taking action to improve your situation. Or imagine you've been in multiple abusive relationships. After going through repeated emotional or physical abuse, you might start to believe that all relationships are harmful. You could stop trying to find a healthy, supportive partner and start isolating yourself, avoiding social interactions, because you're convinced that you're destined for unhappiness in your personal life. How learned helplessness was studied. Many of you might know this experiment with dogs, but I'll explain it anyway. In 1967, scientists Seligman and Mayer described the theory of learned helplessness using electric shocks on dogs. In this experiment, 3 groups of dogs were placed in cages. The first group could avoid the pain by pressing a special panel, a lever, with their nose to turn off the shocks, learning that their actions mattered. The second group dogs received the same shocks but had no control over stopping them. The shocks stopped only when the dogs in group 1 pressed their lever. And the third group was a control group and received no shocks. Both experimental groups were subjected to shocks of equal intensity and duration. The key difference was that the first group learned they had control, while the second group learned they didn't. Later, all 3 groups were placed in a box with a barrier they could jump over to escape the shocks. The box had 2 compartments and the dogs could easily jump to the other side to avoid the shock. Here's the interesting part. The dogs that had learned they had no control in the previous part of the experiment simply gave up. Despite the shocks and the increased intensity, they just lay down, whined, and did nothing to escape. In contrast, the dogs that had learned they could control the shocks quickly jumped over the barrier to escape. This experiment demonstrated that when animals, and by extension people, experience repeated situations where they have no control, they may develop learned helplessness. They give up trying to change their situation even when an escape or solution is right in front of them. This experiment might seem cruel, but our task here is not to judge the experimenters. Instead, we need to draw conclusions for ourselves. Think about it. You might find yourself in the same position as these dogs. Your decisions are often influenced by learned helplessness from being in a destructive relationships you've been before. Even though you're no longer helpless and have more control now, you might still make choices based on past experiences without reconsidering the current situation. Learned helplessness isn't caused by the unpleasant events themselves, but by the experience that these events were once uncontrollable. A person becomes helpless if they get used to their actions not making a difference. If unpleasant things happen without any control, it can lead to a sense of helplessness. Many years later, Mayer's research in neuropsychology showed that the dogs didn't learn helplessness, they just failed to learn control. This is crucial to remember. It's not that you've learned helplessness, you just didn't learn control. You can start learning it now, taking steps to control your life. It's real and achievable. So what does learned helplessness deprive you of, and how can you regain control over your life? You need to regain exploratory activity. This kind of activity aims to change an external or internal state when there is no certainty. We can't always predict the outcomes, but we can constantly adjust based on what we learn. Think of it like playing darts. You see where you hit and it's far right. You adjust to aim left next time. This process of assessing results, thinking about what needs to change and making adjustments is your path to control. It's important to keep trying and adjust based on what you learn. This is what makes it exploratory. Keep searching and adjusting, even if you don't have all the information yet. This proactive approach helps you take control and move forward. It's important to distinguish between changing your attitude and learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is when you say that nothing helps and you stop trying. Changing your attitude means accepting that you can't change things right now, but you're preparing. For example, if you want to leave a narcissist but can't move out immediately, you might prepare over 2 weeks. This isn't giving up, it's waiting for the right moment to make a change. It's about preparing resources and opportunities that will start appearing. Also, it is important to start simple. Ask yourself, what I can control. Can I control what I can eat for breakfast? Or can I control what movie I will watch today? Make a plan and stick to it. And then you can move towards bigger goals, such as, can I control when my partner rages at me? No, I cannot, but I will, for example, leave the room or leave the apartment and choose not to engage. So I think you got the idea. Being aware that this is what might be happening with you right now is a great place to start, since like that you understand that this is not the case when something is wrong with you. This is a mechanism that you learned to survive, and therefore it can be unlearned. If you want to know how to heal yourself after being in a relationship with a narcissist or any other abusive and destructive partner, click here to watch this video. Look after yourself and your loved ones, and I will see you in next videos.